I did something. I officially jumped to the Fujifilm ship. I bought an X-T3 and I've had this camera for about a week now. And going forward, I'm actually going to be doing all of my photo shoots, all my weddings, all my videography with this system. Although I still have my Canon gear, I will hold on to them for a little longer. But my goal in this video is actually to give you a review of the X-T3 and these two lenses now that I had them for a week. Let's go. Welcome to my channel. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I'm a wedding photographer here in Ottawa. I've been a long time Canon shooter and recently I've decided that I really like the Fuji system, and therefore I actually bought a X-T3 along with these two lenses. And going forward, I'm going to be shooting all my weddings with this system. I essentially bought two first lens for two specific reasons. One is I'm looking to include more videography services with my wedding package, and therefore I'm trying to become more of a hybrid shooter. And so I will be doing all of my videography and photography with this system. So I bought two sets of lenses. The first one is the 18-55 2.2 f4. It is a zoom lens that has in-body stabilization built in, and this is the lens that I will be doing my video with. And I also bought the Fujinon 23mm f1.4, and so this is what I will do my photography with. And this is a fast aperture lens with an f1.4, which essentially gives me a lot more lighting capability. And so this is what I'm planning on getting started with. Mind you, as a wedding photographer, we typically work with quite a few gear, and so my objectives over the next few weeks to few months is actually to build up this kit. So likely going forward, I'm going to be investing in the 50-140 millimeter lens, a zoom lens, essentially to give me a little bit more range during ceremonies. And then also the 50mm f1 or f1.2, depending on what's available, essentially to do portraits. So this Fuji system is going to grow over the next few months, and so essentially I'm going to be investing in the X-T4 as well, to have two camera bodies and then a set of four lenses. Perhaps a grip for both of them to give me a little bit more battery length, essentially. But this is the starting kit, and I've had it about a week now, and my initial impressions so far are good. Every review that I've read and videos that I've watched were really positive, and so it was an easy jump. And just having it for a week now, all of those reviews actually are true. So far the color science is excellent. The quality of the f1.4 23mm lens is incredible. It's super sharp. In dark venues, it's super helpful as it allows you to gather more lighting, and outside photos are just amazing. So far, I haven't played too much with the film simulation that comes built into the X-T3. I've been using the standard film simulation, but I've toggled a little bit in the features and just to see exactly what those look like. And they're quite nice, actually. So it kind of helps do away with a lot of the post-processing that you would have to do in Lightroom. And you could just go ahead and film in the look that you like, or photograph in the look that you like, and your pictures will pretty much come ready right at the gate. So far so good, and I'm really excited to talk to you about this more. So I'll be honest, although I'm really impressed with the quality of this camera, it takes getting used to. I've been a Canon shooter for many years now, and I kind of know that camera like the back of my hand. how to navigate through the interface and so on. And so, you know, using this camera, it takes getting used to how to make edits and so on. And that will take me some time, but so far so good. All of the dials at the top helps you basically make your changes very quickly. It takes some getting used to, but once you understand which side is essentially the shutter and which side is the ISO setting, then it's very, very, very quick. I've been working with Canon for many years now, and I believe I've owned about 4 of them. The Canon SL2, which is what I'm filming on right now. I've owned 2 60D bodies, and I started with the Canon 5D, the classic, and jumping onto this particular camera system really was quite an eye-opening experience the first few hours that I had it in my hand, but I'm getting used to it now. It's becoming almost second nature. But one of the reasons why I thought Fuji would make an excellent package for what I'm trying to accomplish over the next year is that as we're moving forward, a lot of brides expect you to not only provide photography but also video highlight of their wedding, and this is one of the best hybrid cameras on the market, as it allows you seamlessly switch back from video and photo. So that's essentially why I did the jump. It does help that it's a compact package. We typically work, as I mentioned before, with 2 sets of camera bodies, and it's quite hard to lug 2 full frame cameras. My preference for me when it comes to doing photography is to use prime lenses, and prime lenses don't zoom in. So typically you would have a 23mm for those in indoor shots and close shots. And then we would work with a 50mm or something longer to be able to have some reach. And having these like essentially compact cameras does help essentially with both their size and their weight. A 10-hour wedding session can wear down on you, and it helps to shed as many pounds as we possibly can. And so that's essentially one of the main reasons why I've decided that I love Fuji. I will go with Fuji. The look of this camera is essentially what caught my eye. The retro look, the silver look, is just absolutely beautiful. And when you add these lenses and a classic hood lens, you would think that you're back in the 80s. But nonetheless, it's an absolute jewel. And I couldn't be happier to have made this jump. And so just to give you a little bit more, a little bit of a background. So I mentioned this already a few times that I had it for a week now. And so I figured we should put it to the test before we actually bring it on an official paid shoot. So I took it to the museum, Nature Museum in Ottawa, just to try out actually not just the photography aspect but the video aspect, and I prepared a little montage that I'll share with you in a few minutes. And my first initial impression was that it takes getting used to switching from video and photo, because depending on where you start, your setting will transfer to the video and vice versa. So there are what I understand, there are some custom settings that you can program in that would allow you to keep your photography settings and your videography settings. I haven't figured that out yet. It was my first time taking it out of the house and actually taking photos in public, and so I didn't want to complicate my life too much. I'm still getting used to the dials, but nonetheless, it's actually been a positive experience, if you will. So now that I mentioned a few reasons why I switched to this camera, being the size and the weight, one of the things that I'm truly excited about using going forward is what they call the EVF. So if you're familiar with what they call mirrorless camera, which is the new types of SLR cameras, now this particular viewfinder here is no longer a mirror, and it's actually a small LCD screen that lets you see your exposure right off the go before you even take a snapshot, and it allows you to actually view your pictures in really crisp. If you've ever taken pictures outside in the sun, it's really hard to see an LCD light. If your phone has the same issue as well, it's hard to see a digital screen in outside. And just being able to peek in here, you really can get a fantastic representation of the image you've taken. And so you'll quickly pick up on if your images are overexposed or underexposed, or if it's blurry. And so the days where you would essentially, take hundreds of pictures and then you would go back to your computer and load that up, and then you realize, oh, like half of my shots are blurry. Well, now you have the opportunity to review your work right away on the site. And if you're not happy with the actual quality, well, then you can just go ahead and take those images again. And so the days are dealing with a bunch of blurry images are essentially over. And so mirrorless is the way forward, and the X3 is my first essentially entry into this particular class of DSLRs, and I'm truly excited about it. This is the Xt3. The Xt4 has recently come out as well, and that's a camera that I'm currently eyeing for my next camera. And that actually body comes with what they call a in-body image stabilization, and as well as a flippy screen. Now, although it's nice to have in-body stabilization, after I've seen a few videos online, I don't know that it will make that big of a difference. When you're doing hand holding of DSLRs, you'll still be introducing camera shake. So either way, it's likely that a gimbal will be required when you're filming for either the Xt3 or Xt4. But in terms of image quality, the Xt3 and the Xt4 have both the same sensors, so you're taking your exact same pictures. They have interchangeable lenses as well, so you could use the lenses that you use for the 3 with the 4 as well. But nonetheless, I will likely be rocking the silver Xt3 and the black Xt4 in the near future, along with a series of additional lenses. So these lenses are built very sturdy. They are all metal, which make them really resistant to impacts. So if you drop them on the ground, the chances that you'll have damage to them are limited. Fuji does a really excellent job of building quality products at an affordable price. And they did not really cut costs on this particular lens, which is the 18-55. This is the video lens that I'm going to use going forward. And the same can be said for the actual 23mm f1.4. So this is my photography lens. It's an excellent camera lens, if you will. It has a fun feature, being that Fuji loves the retro look and feel of cameras. They've actually built in this prong here that allows you to zoom in manually if that's something that you wanted to experience. Obviously, it still has the auto focus system, but this is for those older people who want to go back to an old school feel, if you will. I likely won't be using the manual feature. I prefer having the autofocus, and the Xt3 has an excellent iFocus feature built in, and so I mainly bought this lens for the 1.4 aperture. I've noticed that when I took it to the museum this week, that a 2.8 lens and being able to stop down to 1.4 makes an absolute difference. I never thought that I would start using this camera in such a difficult environment. The Nature Museum in Ottawa is actually an old castle with very limited natural light. So And the exhibit that we went to go see was the dinosaur exhibit. So it was essentially a very dim environment, very challenging for photographing or video taping. Essentially use high ISO for this particular shoot. I was regularly at the 3200 to 6400 ISO to be able to capture some decent pictures. And then I actually had to go back to Lightroom and further increase the exposure just to be able to make sense of the image that I've captured. So not exactly a smart first place to go to with this camera, but at least it gives me confidence that if I find myself in a dark venue, especially this winter, that this camera can actually do a decent job of capturing pictures that can be viewed and not just silhouettes. Could I have used a flash? Yes. Would they have thrown me out? Yes, as well. So a flash was not an option this week, but I'm pretty sure that if I had a flash on top of this camera or off-camera flash, I could have really captured some really nice sharp images, but this is what I had to work with. So I hope that you enjoy the montage that I'm going to share with you, and then we'll be back on the other side. especially with some of the exhibit where you saw the saber-tooth tiger, that it was a very, very dim lit environment that made it really, really extremely challenging to do any kind of video work with the 18 to 55 f 2.8, but when it came to photography, the 1.4 lens really saved the day, as the aperture can be open very, very wide, and you could actually let a lot of light enough to allow you to capture a decent image. So far I'm quite happy with the performance of the camera. When it comes to video, I would say that a gimbal would really help with getting rid of a lot of that shaky footage you would have observed in the car, going over bumps. Some of the pictures kind of were jumping around, and it's not really something that you want to introduce for an actual paid shoot, such as a full wedding day. But a gimbal can really improve and stabilize a DSLR, such as, or rather I should say, mirrorless camera. So that's essentially my goal, is to purchase potentially the DJI Ronin SC, which is a compact gimbal that's very light and can be carried in a backpack and pulled out on a whim, or on a time where you're actually looking to do some video. So that's the direction I'm heading. But it's definitely a excellent camera for the price. The images that it takes, especially in a naturally lit environment such as a park or an outside venue, are amazing. It's crazy how well Fuji built these lenses, especially for their size. They rival the more expensive and much larger Canon S line, and yet they're compact and easily carryable for a full day. So although my experience with this camera so far has been mostly positive, there are some shortfalls, and I'll be honest with you, the battery is really lacking. These mirrorless cameras have a lot of features built into them. Things like the EVF, the electronic viewfinder, are consume a lot of juice, and in a battery that would typically last you 3-4 hours, you know, a couple thousand shots on a standard DSLR. In these type of cameras, you're really going to go through batteries very quickly, especially if you start doing video and photography. I essentially went through a one battery in a matter of a few hours and under 500 shots. That's not a performance that I like. However, you always want to buy additional batteries, and that's my goal to do in the next few days. And also, Fujifilm has a battery grip that they offer that essentially allows you to add 2 more as part of your body, and so it locks in at the bottom of the Xt3, and you will carry a battery inside the actual body here, and then 2 additional, and that should typically last you a lot longer. And then the battery grip has a slot that you can just pull out and add 2 more freshly charged batteries, and it allows you to just keep shooting. So that's kind of the direction I'm gonna go with. Mind you, I did mention that the size made a difference, but adding a battery grip will add a little bit more size and weight. But to be honest, with the color science and the qualities cameras, it's something that I'm willing to live with. And so essentially, this body will gain a little bit of weight, but to be able to not have to fiddle with it on a regular basis and constantly have to do a battery switch, well, a battery grip will mitigate that problem. So that's my essentially next step. So I will keep you posted as I uncover all of the features of this system. I will provide you with all the pros and cons that I uncover. So that's all I really wanted to share with you guys today. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.